As a business owner or entrepreneur, you push through long hours and high stress and endless demands, and your body pays the price. Stiffness, aches and pains, and chronic pain, they might seem unavoidable, just part of the grind, but what if they're not? Today, Butch Phelps, the muscle nerd, reveals while traditional treatments only provide temporary relief and what's really causing your pain. He'll share simple, science backed movements, techniques that you can start using right now to feel better, move better, and work pain free. Success shouldn't hurt. So tune in and discover how small changes can make a big, big difference.
Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show, where you will discover how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream. Paul Guyan, the mastermind behind the Lead Machine, introduces you to trailblazers who inspire you to implement life-changing solutions and systems you can model to nurture your leads and get your offers seen by your ideal clients who will invest in themselves and you. Be sure you visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, tune in and get ready to transform your vision into reality.
Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyan, your host, Lead Machine Coach, and the founder of the Lead Machine Marketing Group and Mastermind. And I'm dedicated to helping you tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream life, which I'm hoping we're going to be talking about a pain-free life too today. So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business and life to the next level, let's get this conversation started and turn your dreams into reality. So I'm pleased to have Butch Phelps on my show today. He's the self-proclaimed muscle nerd with a lifelong passion for understanding how the body moves and why it hurts. With over 2 decades of experience, he's an author, speaker, and licensed massage therapist with a bachelor's degree in aging sciences from the University of South Florida. He's also the founder of the Muscle Repair Shop, where he helps people overcome chronic pain through his unique stretch and release technique. His experience blends science, movement, hands-on therapy to uncover the real causes of pain beyond just treating symptoms. Working with clients, speaking on stage, and sharing insights through his YouTube channel and newsletter, he is dedicated to helping people move better, feel better, and live pain-free lives. So Butch Phelps, thank you, my brother, for coming on today. I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Paul. I'm glad you had me on your show. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and I have a real affinity for physical medicine because my parents were physiatrists who are the doctors of physical medicine and
Right.
rehab.
Exactly.
So I've had lots of experience in the last few years with physical therapists as well as massage therapists because of maybe doing things wrong or doing things too long or sitting too long or not doing the right things. So I'm interested in hearing what your methods are. So what led you though to specialize in muscle function and chronic pain relief? Was it a personal experience or was it some gap that you found in traditional treatments or something else?
It actually found me, to be honest with you. Some of it was a personal story as well. I had been in corporate America up until about the age 39, 40 years old. And I had actually gained about 100 and some pounds. I was up to 315 pounds at age
Wow.
37, 38. And I'd been a 3-sport athlete in my past. And then when I found a doctor who taught me how to lose that weight, but not only lose it, but maintain the weight, I realized I needed to get back in the gym and start working out because what I knew as an athlete and even as a part-time trainer was how to work out. The problem was that I created my own back pain by overdoing it. And I'd go to doctors and physical therapists and so forth, and they would give me what they knew. It just didn't seem to work very much long term. And that sort of led me down the path to get me into massage school. And then as I had mentors who I was very fortunate. I had mentors who were neurosurgeons, kinesiologists, physical therapists, and even a chiropractor. And they all sort of brought me pieces of the puzzle. And I was smart enough to open my mind and close my mouth and listen to what they had to say and started putting those pieces together. And I solved my own back pain. And that's how I started solving other people's problems. I thought if it helped me, it'd help them.
Yeah, and you mentioned the mentors. I think
Yeah.
as business owners and who are listening to this show, entrepreneurs, uh, we really need to always have some sort of mentorship in
Mhm.
our lives. I believe, whether it's a spiritual director or a senior business person who's done what you've done, or even
Mhm.
someone younger than you who's got insights into what's going on today that could help you succeed. So listening to your listening and keeping your mouth shut is a good
Yeah.
is a good
That's a
idea.
real key. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're right. Sometimes mentors can be younger than you are. And it's like, I always look at people and think, this is where I want to be. So what I'm curious about is how did they get there? Or
Yeah.
this is what I want to know. How did they learn that? And
Yeah.
by just listening and letting them talk, I mean, and I had plenty of other people who were mentoring part-time, I would say, but I had 4 or 5 major mentors. And it was like, it was putting that puzzle together. And once I put it together, I remember some of them saying to me, now you're seeing the whole picture. And
Yeah.
that was a real thing, a real big thing, because the things I had learned in massage school, studying neuromuscular and sports massage, the things I had learned as a trainer, lifting weights and so forth, a lot of that I had to throw out and restart all over again based on the new things that I was learning. It's a scary time because I thought, well, what was the point in going to school? Well, the point of going to school was to wake up that energy inside of my body to get me to go forward. And
Yeah.
as I came out and I started doing this and I started talking to people in business, and they were like, so you're in the healthcare. How does that help with the business thing? And I would always laugh and I would say, if you have an employee or you yourself are self-employed and you're sitting there in pain, you can't be as creative, you can't be as productive. What you
Mm.
want is to have the ability to fly with your own business, and it has to start with you and your health.
And so why do you think they struggle with that, business owners, with the chronic aches and pains? Do they not know this? Is this such a secret that or do they just believe it's wear and tear in their aging?
I think for most people, and even with the clients that I meet when they first come in, they think it's part of the aging process. I always laugh. I just turned 65 a couple of weeks ago, and at my 50th,
Oh,
my
that's right.
55th, yeah, yeah,
Happy
yeah.
birthday.
Thank you, thank you. So at my 50th, 55th, and 60th birthday, all my friends would love to say to me, "You just wait till tomorrow. The pain is just going to be immense." And the first time they said that, I was 49, and I'm thinking, well, what's the point in living to 50 if it's going to be that bad?
Mhm.
But each time I would call them up or text them and I would say, okay, I'm 55. I don't feel anything. Well, you just wait till you're 60. And I was like, well, I'm not waiting for pain. This is insane. But I think that
Yeah.
for most people, they think that pain is a part of the natural aging process. And that's what spurred me to go back to school and study aging sciences, because you start to realize it actually is not.
Yeah, and what were some of the and you went to school and then the mentors kind of helped shape your
Sure.
thoughts, but what did you take away from your schooling? What was the aha that lit the fire
Yeah.
for you?
So, I mean, the biggest thing is that as you start to look at our bodies and you put it in terms of cars, because obviously people know way more about the cars than they know about their bodies. But it's like, you go out and you buy a brand new car. Let's say you buy a brand new Mercedes Benz or BMW. It is spectacular. Everything works perfect. It flies around town and you just feel great. But after you've had it for 10 or 12 years, all of a sudden you got to change a few things here, replace a few parts there, and do a little bit of maintenance on it. If you do the maintenance and if you make sure everything is up to where it needs to be, that car will last 15, 20 years. But if you don't, you're going to be getting rid of it in 5 or 10. And I think for
Yeah.
humans, we are in this thing of we wait until you have a heart attack and then we decide to do something. And that's sort of like, let's wait till the engine blows up and then we'll put fresh oil in it. It's kind of backwards. And it's like, so what we need to be doing is that if you in your family history, like in mine, my family history has a lot of heart disease and strokes in it. Not much
Mhm.
cancer, not much other things. But I know that since I'm more susceptible to that, I need to do things to lower those risk things. And that's what I try to help people understand is that if you can learn in your movements, whether you're working behind a desk or you're lifting things, if you can look ahead and say, look, what I'm doing may wind up hurting my back or hurting my knees or hurting my hips. If you can do things to prevent that risk, you're less likely to need back surgeries and joint replacements and that kind of thing when you get older.
Yeah, and I think the entrepreneurs, they just launch ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm this way, that
Yeah.
that I just keep moving because I have so many plates spinning, and
Yeah.
I want to keep them. I don't want them to fall, and
Right.
and so there's got to be a better way, new routines and things like that. Uh, Many pain treatments and painkillers and things like that are temporary or seemingly,
Right.
and even some physical therapists, which of course,
Mhm.
I know and love, but some of them are not so good and some of them are great. But
Right.
so why is it only temporary relief? Is it because
So, yeah, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that. It's probably the most important question of the day.
yeah,
So when you look at the human body and you look at the muscles of the human body, we really equate our muscles to the physical side. How do we lift things? How fast can we run? How high can we jump? The reality is that when you look at your physical body, you've got the muscles and also you have what's called fascia. Now, fascia is sort of a material that holds everything together inside of your body. Those two areas of your body are very emotional. So, now, best way to think about it is everything you think, feel, and do is going to affect the tension in your body on your muscles and your fascia. So, think about how tight you feel if you're really angry at somebody or you're really frustrated about something. But then think how you feel when you're just having a cup of coffee with a friend and laughing and talking, how easy you feel, and how much a lot of your pain will start to fade away. So, what happens is that we start to live our lives, and as business owners, we're like you said, we're trying to get all these plates spinning so they don't fall down. So you got all this stuff taking your
mhm,
attention, and with that, it's like you're in a chronic stress state all day and all night long. The body then tenses up, and as it does, the muscles and the fascia are the only thing in your body that can apply pressure to your nerves, your blood vessels, your joints, your disc in your back over a long period of time of being in that state, because in that chronic stress state, it's like you're running from the saber-tooth tiger every day.
yeah,
You stay there long enough, it'll kill you. And the thing is when people say, my neck hurts and my back hurts, and so they go to a doctor, they may go to physical therapy, they may go to a chiropractor. And even when I was in massage school, what we studied was how to solve the pain of the symptom, not really look at what actually caused the pain.
mhm,
So if between your shoulder blades, you've been on a computer all day and it gets tight, the back of your neck gets tight, everybody's going to go to the between the shoulder blades and the back of the neck. But the real cause of that is the outside chest muscles in the front of your neck, because your head weighs about 10 to 12 pounds, and every inch it leans forward on the back side of your
yeah,
body,
your
you're
head,
increasing that pressure by 10 pounds per inch.
right, your head's down like this
Yeah, yeah,
instead of
yeah.
standing up tall.
Yep. So the temporary part of what you were asking about is that the people trying to help you aren't necessarily doing terrible things. The
Right.
temporary part of it is it's a daily thing. Now, that doesn't mean you have to stretch the whole body. I usually take 10 or 15, 20 minutes in the morning, 10 or 15, 20 minutes before I go to bed at night, go through my stretching routine. I'll work out for half an hour to an hour, 4 or 5 days a week. The thing is that when you learn how to do these things on a daily basis, your risk of injury drop really low. And so
Yeah.
unlike a lot of business owners in my business, I have to be in good condition every day, because if you came to me with back pain and I walked in and I'm like, "Oh, Paul, let me sit down for a minute as I talk to you. My back is killing me." What would be the chances you'd sit there and think, well, this guy must know how to fix my back? He can't even fix himself.
Right.
So it puts a little added pressure on you when you're in this business, but that's the way you kind of have to think about it in any business.
Yeah, and so many things that you mentioned there are important. The first thing I was going to ask you this at the end, but I'm going to ask you now.
Okay.
Uh, how does faith and mindset play into the healing process?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So when you're looking at faith and the mindset, they go hand in hand. A person who has faith and has hope, you're looking ahead at the possibilities. A lot of
Yeah.
times people who do not, they look at it in a hopeless state, or it's never going to work out for me. Well, when you're in that mindset and you're feeling that way, what happens is that the body then starts to shrink. It starts to shrink. You take shorter strides, and with the shorter strides, you wind up with head forward posture. You wind up with a hump back. Maybe your low back starts to hurt. You're setting a lot more, so the muscles on the it just is a domino effect. And so what happens is that the whole thing just kind of falls down. When you're in hope and when you're in faith, and as you're moving stuff around, you're going to stand with your shoulders back, head held high, and you're walking in like you own the room because you feel like there's a lot of hope there. And so that's where it becomes real important for the muscle system and the fascia system of the body.
Right. And you mentioned, I didn't know this, the fascia system, that
Yeah.
it responds to emotions and stress. And so,
Right.
and that sends signals to the rest of your body to interfere with that positive
Yeah.
mindset, the hope, all those things, those self-doubts come into play. So
Right.
do you recommend any sort of meditation or prayer or training of the mind or anything like that?
Y-
That
Yeah.
I mean, that might be an open-ended question. That's certainly an open-ended question.
Sure. Sure. I mean, absolutely it is. It's when this type of stretching with the stretch and release technique that I've created, a lot of it is very meditational in the sense that,
Mhm.
yeah, we're stretching muscles and yeah, we're doing self massage, but it's understanding the power of the mind. So the ability to be able to quiet the mind so that you're not on a phone call, you're not standing there talking to a friend like you see people in the gym doing it. You're literally, as you're moving your arm or you're moving your leg, or maybe it's your neck, whatever you're stretching, what you're doing is zero in on the area that you're trying to stretch, the area you're trying to massage. And you're realizing that if my mind is quiet, my muscles will soften and relax. I can't be thinking about where I'm going to be an hour from now, or that guy, that's Mr. So and so an hour ago who made me upset. I can't be thinking about that. I have to really zero in. And so it becomes meditative because, like in most meditations, they'll have you to focus on your breath. You're focusing on your breath, but you're also focusing on where you feel it with your muscles and feeling those muscles like, oh, it sounds easy, but for people who are not used to it, it takes a little bit of practice. So for those of you who want to test it and try it, don't try it once and just give up, because you may have to do it several times before you fully lock in and feel that.
Yeah, quieting your mind is an important skill,
Yeah.
certainly to be calm. Uh, if you look at Caroline Levitt, the press secretary of the White House,
Right.
she is a picture of calm,
Mhm.
and which is. But anyways, I'm not going to go down there. But so the other thing that you mentioned, we talked about the temporary relief. One thing that I think is important is that we realize that this is our body, our health is our responsibility. We have to make it work.
Right.
And we were given this health in this body as a gift,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we have to treat it that way. When we rely on doctors and healers, I'll
Mhm.
say,
Mhm.
um, we can't expect, we shouldn't expect to have permanent relief from that.
Yeah.
You even after, if you had to have surgery, you still
Right.
have to maintain afterwards.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, a prime example is, the Ozempic, Wegovy, a lot of people are getting into that to lose weight today. And
Yeah.
it's like those things will help you lose weight. The problem is you have to learn how to eat and how to work out and maintain a healthy body, because I mean, how many we've all known people who've had like gastric bypasses, or
Mhm.
the things that they do with the stomach surgically to slow people down, and they would lose 100 pounds. You go, oh my gosh, he lost 100 pounds, and then a year later he's back to where he was. And what happened there was the surgery worked. It got him to lose the weight. So will these other drugs. But the problem is that if the person doesn't learn how to eat healthy and live healthy, you're just going to go back to what you know. We're talking now about a 48% obesity rate. But we've got all these diet plans out there all over the place that people get on, and you see these success stories. I lost 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. If you don't know how to maintain it, and that was the thing I learned when I lost 105 pounds back in 1997, and the doctor said to me, you can lose all the weight you want, but if you don't understand what you're doing, you're just going to put it back on. And that's
Right.
the real key. And the same thing is true with the muscles. And when you go into a doctor, you go out and you have a knee replaced because you didn't have good form in whatever sports you were playing or how you were working. The new knee is not gonna avoid or make you have better form if you don't take
Yeah.
care of it. So one of the surgeons that I work with, he said to me one time, he said, "I want you to help them with their muscles before the surgery." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Well," he said, I'm gonna just change the bone. I'm not changing the muscles." And he said, "So if they come in with stiff muscles, they're going out with stiff muscles." And so for as patients, we have to take
Yeah.
ownership of who we are and what's going on.
Yeah. I like that. Um, Preparing for surgery by doing
Yeah,
some training.
yeah.
And so, and you mentioned the weight loss and keeping it off and learning to, so we have to have daily routines.
Yeah.
And I have a daily, we all have daily routines.
Right.
It's just that, is it the right routine to sustain your life and your
Mhm.
health and
Right.
your muscle? And so, what are some? This is getting into your stretch and release program, but so you mentioned your daily routine,
Yes.
and we were talking about temporary relief. So how do we integrate our existing daily routine with this, with the with you know what we're talking about?
Sure,
So
sure. Absolutely, yes.
yeah,
So little things. In other words, when people think of stretching, and I used to attempt to advertise in print magazines and newspapers and stuff, and I would put the word stretch in. Well, I go to the gym and I stretch. I go to stretch class and I stretch. Well, that's wonderful. The problem is it's a daily thing. And no one's going to have the time, especially business people, to take an hour out of their time to go to a yoga class, a stretch class. It sounds wonderful, but for most of us, especially if you're a solopreneur, you just don't have the time to do that.
right.
If you're a mom with children or a dad with children, you don't have time to do that. So you have to integrate it in your life throughout your day. And one of the things I teach with the stretch and release is you're talking about with stretching the front of your neck. You can do that sitting at a stoplight when it's red instead of fuming at the guy who's maybe tried to cut you off. You can be sitting at a stoplight where it's red and stretch the front of your neck. You could take a tennis ball, put it in a sock, and lean against it in the wall in your office on the side of a building. Heck, I've done it on the side of my car when I'm traveling down the road, at a rest stop. So being able to integrate that into your life becomes important. The
Yeah.
food you eat becomes important because many times the pain and stuff that people feel is from a high inflammatory diet.
Mhm.
So that inflammation not only affects the joints, which is what most people think of, but that same inflammation from that food is actually affecting your brain, which affects your decision-making skills in your business. So eating that
Wow.
food and stretching and working out becomes important. So when you think about even working out, I'm not talking about lifting enough weights where you can lift the back end of your car. That's not important. You don't need to be a bodybuilder, but you want to be able to build muscle mass in your body because at age 30, we start to lose 1% per year and for the rest of our lives. So we have to maintain that. And the reason for that is it increases the density of our bones. Obviously, it keeps our mobility. And more importantly, as we build the muscle mass, the muscle is fueled by glucose from the foods that we eat, which reduces inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
So when you're working out and when you're doing the stretches throughout the day and you're sitting down to eat a meal, that meal is not just to make you feel good for the moment. That meal is actually putting fuel in your car, which gives the car power to do the things it wants. So when I lost the weight, for instance, the doctor I had, she was a primary care, and she said to me, we should think about food like fuel. You got a car, it runs on unleaded gas. You come up to the gas station. There's a kerosene pump is the first one. The diesel pump is the second one, and unleaded is the third one. Kerosene is the cheapest. It's the most convenient. It's boom, I can get it in and get out, and I'm done with it. And I'm like, yeah, but the car won't run very well. And I said, exactly. Or she said, exactly. And she said, then there's a diesel fuel. It's a little more expensive, but it's a little more convenient than the unleaded. You can get done and move on. You got things to do all day. And I go, but my car won't run on diesel fuel. And she said, exactly. You have to put in your car what it will run, or the car stops, and your body does the same thing. So the idea that I'm going to run through or drive through and pick up something and I'm going to eat it on the fly, you're actually working against yourself in business because you're messing with your ability to be more productive.
Yeah. And if you do that habitually,
Yeah.
we know what happens. The problem is, and you mentioned glucose.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have a chance to, if you do that habitually or every day, it doesn't have a chance to work its way through and do the metabolic things that it's supposed to do if you do that every day. So that no wonder you have this little chunk of mass right here above your belt.
Right. And see, and more importantly, and make sure to add to that is that not only that chunk above your belt, but the inflammation in your brain, you're becoming less creative and less productive in the business you're trying to run, which makes life really hard. You see, that's what we want to, that's why it's important. Everybody's starting to talk about movement. Everybody's starting to talk about diet and so forth. That's why they're talking about it, because what they're finding in aging sciences is that the movement, what we eat, what we do, how we think can determine how successful we are in everything that we try to do in our lives.
Yeah, that's super important. And no wonder it's so hard to do things.
Yeah.
You know, when you're trying to be creative. So we mentioned that the daily routine time is a concern. So how much time do we need to allocate? Do we need to get to bed earlier? Do we need to get up earlier?
That's great.
How much time does it take, and what should we do?
So sleep is probably the most important thing you can do to your human body. Now, I'm a stretch guy, I'm into muscles, but I'm also understanding that sleep, and I've seen so many doctors and so many therapists talk about it, sleep is huge. So we should be getting somewhere around 7.5 hours every night. Now, I realize for some people, they have children, young children, that might be difficult. But the goal is to try to get 7.5 hours. Now, when you go to sleep at night, there's several things that I've learned over the years that I've incorporated in my own life. Is you want to have blacked out windows if you can at night, so there's no street lights shining into your house. You don't want to have little lights from clocks, and you don't want to have little buzzers that buzz here and buzz there. You don't want to be on your phone. You don't want to be on your laptop or your iPad. What you want is you prepare for sleep like you do for everything else. So for me, I try to eat no later than 7:30 at night. Most of the time I'm very successful. Once in a while, not so. But the reason for that is I want to take the next couple of hours to allow my body, A, to digest the food, but number two, I have dim lights in my house so that my body can start to prepare itself for going to sleep. I'm not going to be on the phone making deals with people at 9:30 at night and think that I'm going to jump in bed at 10 o'clock, all hyped up from making those deals, that I'm going to actually go to sleep anytime soon, because that's just not going to happen. And it's like, so sleep then becomes ultra important. A couple of reasons. Number one, the rest itself, and to be able to quiet the mind so that you can start fresh tomorrow. But number two, you get away from late night snacking, which again reduces inflammation of the brain, which again will make you more creative and more productive. So I know that it sounds kind of harsh, and for so many people, they're like, oh my gosh, but I like to stay up to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, that's great. But you jump back up out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're half full at that point. I mean, it's like you're playing chess when everybody else, or checkers, and everybody else is playing chess.
Well, and if you do that, then you just need to get up later.
Yeah.
And for some of us, that's not possible.
That's not possible. That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. So, you're like a trained athlete. I mean, you don't see anybody, no matter how great they are, if they were Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Tom Brady, they have to prepare their bodies for their job. That's what we're talking about today, is you've got to prepare your body for your job and be serious about that.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on to, we mentioned stretch and release technique.
Right.
Can you give us an overview of what that's about and
Yes.
how it works?
Yeah, so we've heard of dynamic stretching and we've heard of static stretching. So dynamic stretching, a lot of times you'll see athletes on TV, they're sort of skip hopping where they're bringing a leg up and down the field. And what they're doing there is they're forcing warm blood into the muscle tissue to make the muscle tissue more pliable by making it warmer. Static stretching is the one most of us did in PE class, and if we were athletes or whatever, where you grab your arm, you grab your leg, you pull as hard as you can and hold for as long as you can, thinking that you're fighting with your muscles, and the muscle does not have the ability to make a decision whether to fight with you or not. It's totally reactive tissue.
Mhm.
So what happens there is that people start to fight with their brains, and what it turns out to be is it's more strength training than stretching because you're using one part of your body for resistance to the other. So in stretch and release, what that is that number one, we are doing more gentle stretching. We're using yoga straps or ropes. Anybody gives you an elastic band to stretch with, lay it down and run out of the room because you're in the wrong place. Elastic bands are made for strength training, but you want something that's not elastic. And then by going in and start to work with the stretching, and as you're learning about your body, you're learning that there's multiple muscles, like a calf area, there's 4 muscles there, not just one. Hamstrings, there's 3 muscles there, and they're not just one. But learning how to integrate those stretches to get all of those areas is going to make a big difference in the injuries that people have. Again, it's mindfulness. So as you're stretching those muscles, what you're doing there is that you're quieting the mind and feeling the muscles release. We're not making them longer. And that's a big mistake. People think I'm lengthening my muscles. We never lengthen the muscles. Your muscles are never going to get long enough for a guy that's 7 feet tall for him to have. So what you're doing is you're releasing the tension in the muscles from everything you think, feel, and do. Second part of it is self-massage. How to use a tennis ball for your back and your hips, how to use your hands for the front side of your body. The same thing is that as you learn about your body and learn how it's supposed to feel versus what you feel every day, now you can breathe, quiet the mind, and allow the muscles to relax. You touch your arm every day, no matter if it's hard as a rock or soft as cotton, whatever it feels like every day to you, that's your normal. So what we're doing is we're creating a new normal here for you. And then lastly, the connection of the mind to the muscles themselves and the fascia itself is that once you understand that the mind is what creates the tension, once you understand that, now when you get into the stretching, you realize the importance of the mind. And as you relax the mind, you relax the body. And you put those 3 things together. And I mean, things like plantar fasciitis that people suffer with for months, I've seen it go away with 24 hours up to 5 days. Elbow tendonitis, I've seen go away in an hour to 2 hours at a time. It's just understanding that role of the mind and how the muscles are reacting. And then once you do that, now you have control of how much pain you feel.
So you mentioned the tennis ball.
Yeah.
And will a lacrosse ball work too, or is that too stiff?
Just too stiff. A lot of people choose a hard ball like a lacrosse ball. I've had some people come in with a cue ball. Others come in with a vibrating ball that has little things sticking out from it. And I think some of them even sing to you after a while. The thing is that we're so trained that when we come to muscles, we want to press hard. And like we're going to manhandle our muscles. And what they don't realize is the more pain you create, the more the brain contracts the muscles in the fight or flight because the brain perceives it as a danger and it's trying to get you out of that. So you go get a deep tissue massage. If they don't coach you in breathing and relaxing and they're just digging into your back, you might as well be somewhere on the street corner and somebody beating you with their fist because the brain's going to react the same way. And that's another reason for it being temporary. So having that tennis ball is just hard enough that I can feel it. I can feel the tension in my muscle, but soft enough that I don't bruise my body or damage my wall. And do it against the wall. Some people will try to do it laying on the floor, sitting on a chair. That's an all or nothing pressure. Against the wall, I can adjust that pressure to play with my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've used both the lacrosse ball and the tennis ball,
Right.
and I just can't do it. The lacrosse just hurts.
Oh, absolutely does.
And plus you can't squeeze it.
No.
You can squeeze a tennis ball after
Right.
a while,
Right.
which is good for your hands. And
Right.
I'm a drummer. So,
Yeah.
So I need to have very limber hands,
Yes.
and the rest of me too.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something that about massage therapy that I hadn't thought I would ask you about, but choosing a massage therapist,
Mhm.
there's if they don't coach you, if you're going to get a massage of any kind, probably,
Right.
but
Right.
a deep tissue one, if they're not coaching you how to breathe,
Right.
it makes a difference.
Yep. Exactly right. Because again, you can, if you're laying on the table, and a lot of times in massage schools, they teach you not to speak to the person too much laying on the table.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, so here's the thing. So if it's the first time you're with this therapist, you don't really know how much they really know or how good they really are,
Yeah.
unless you got a referral from somebody, and that gives you a little more trust. So you're laying there wondering what the heck is about to happen to me. That's
Mhm.
the first thing. So when you want your muscles to relax, you've got to feel safe and you got to feel like you trust the person touching you. All right. So the
Mhm.
second thing is that if that person starts pressing too hard, we all know that if you back up against something and you go, well, that pain hurts, and you just sort of jump and get away from it, you'll do that with a therapist too. But if that therapist can say to you, we're going to go a little deeper here, we're going to work over here a little bit. I want you to breathe for me. So inhale. And as I press in, I want you to exhale. All of a sudden, you start to see that you can release that. And then so you're working in tandem with that person's hands. You can release that stiffness and that hardness in your body. Your body then starts to relax. And what's amazing about that is as I'm coaching people, even if they're laying face down, you can feel a difference in their body from just rigid to light touching cotton. It's amazing. Men or women, doesn't matter.
Wow. And so getting a massage it should be a collaborative thing.
Absolutely.
So that's what you should be looking for in a massage therapist if you're going to go to there's a lot of Asian therapists that are out
Mhm.
there that do, and they don't speak English.
Right.
The one that I've gone to, and she helped me, but
Right.
I did not know, I did not know what to expect. But
Right.
I was in such great pain that I didn't care.
Right.
I wanted some relief, and I did get some,
Mhm.
so that helped. But
Right.
that's really interesting. I have a client who's a massage therapist, and I help her with
Yeah.
her online presence and whatnot. And she's great.
Yeah.
She's absolutely fabulous at it, and she's branched out into energy healing and things like that as
Mhm.
well. Um, but yeah, I had not thought of that.
So, I mean, you think about when you go get a massage from somebody, it's probably one of the most intimate interactions with a healthcare professional that we run into, much more than doctors in most cases, or PTs, or anyone else
Mhm.
in the healthcare field, because they're literally touching most parts of your body, and you're in a sort of a very vulnerable state at that point.
Yeah.
If you don't feel safe or you don't trust, don't understand what that person is going to do, that puts us on high alert until we know what's going to happen. And it's nothing against the therapist. It's like if somebody came to see me the first time, I know my first job when they come to talk to me is how can I put them at ease that they can feel comfortable knowing that I know what I'm doing. That's
Yeah.
always my first job before I ever touch them.
Mm.
Because
So
I've
those
gone places, like with stretching and so forth, where they'll strap you to the table. And, you walk into some of these places and they're going to stretch you. I don't know this person who's coming over to help me. I just met Bob or Jim or whatever his name is. And for the first time, all of a sudden he straps me to this table and then he straps one of my legs down and he grabs my other leg and he starts to pull it. Well, how do I know if he knows where to stop or not? And most people will feel that way. You hope they know and you trust that they know to some level, but you don't really know. And it's like that you really have to trust that person.
yeah. So those of you who are listening, make sure that if you're going to get a massage, make sure that you know who they are and that you're at ease. And
Yeah.
maybe you need to initiate the conversation. So what would be some good questions to ask?
Well, I mean, some good questions to talk. There's a couple of things. Number one, the therapist really needs to do the majority of the talking because, you're trusting them enough that you come to see that person. From the therapist standpoint, and that's how I take it with my clients, is that they were referred by a friend. They still don't know, as my friend said, this guy did a really good job. So I start to listen closely to what my client is saying to me, asking questions like, okay, so where does it hurt? When does it hurt the most? What movements do you do that cause the most pain? And I'm getting several things from that. I'm getting things from what do they like to do during the day? Are they the kind of person who's just nonstop moving all the time? Or are they the kind of person who barely moves? All of a sudden they get up to move every once in a while and it starts to hurt. So I'm filling in a lot of gaps here by giving them the time to speak and to talk to them. If I walk in, if the person walks in and I just say to them, so what do you mean to focus on? Well, my low back hurts. Okay. Well, get undressed, get up on the table, lay on your stomach, and I'll be back in a moment. I don't know. I mean, do they sit in front of a computer all day? Are they lifting things all day? Or there's pain on the outside of the back, in the middle of the low back? All those things will give me some idea as to where the cause of their pain is coming from. And the idea that you have low back pain, very few times when I work with people with low back pain is that their back at all. Most of the time it's coming from their thighs. If you stand up and their back pain increases, but you sit down and it goes away, chances are that's the front of your thighs or your inner thighs. If it's the outside, it's the front of your thighs. If it's in the middle, usually it's in the inner thighs. If you sit down and have back pain, that's usually the hamstrings on the backside. And you stand up, it goes away. And the reason for that is the thigh muscles control the positioning of the pelvis, and that determines how much compression is on the low part of the back. Once you start to see and understand what people are talking about, they'll help you put the pieces together to help them. Plus, you're building trust in that person.
So as one who's going to a therapist, you need to let them know what you do and what your daily life
Absolutely.
is like.
Absolutely.
And so
You
that's
get
not,
some- yeah.
that's taking control and taking responsibility for your care.
Yes.
Going in there with and knowing what to say and telling them how you operate.
Yeah.
And how you do, maybe how you don't operate.
Exactly. Well, I mean, for so many of us today, we're on a computer. We're sitting at a desk on a computer. So the muscles on the outside of my chest are going to get tighter. The muscles on the front of my hips will get tighter. The front of my thighs will get tighter. My calves will get tighter. That's going to all show up as pain on the backside. Just to go in and you say to somebody, my mid back hurts, my low back hurts, and they're just going to work on that area, you might be the wrong person.
Yeah. Speaking of sitting at the computer all desks, do you recommend standing desks?
I do. I have one myself. I can stand or I can sit. I can adjust it either way with a touch of a button.
Yeah.
Even though that I have that, I recommend that because it allows me to stand part of the day and sit part of the day. I still wind up having to stretch out my body each morning and night because, again, the front of my body is going to get tighter. 99% of what we do every day, no matter what job we have, we work in front of us. We don't work behind us.
Yeah.
And so as we work in front of us from our neck all the way down to our feet, the muscles on the front side are what's holding us up to keep us from falling on the ground. And so as that tightens, it shows up on the backside.
Yeah, and I think we need to be aware of our bodies and our habits and things like that. When I went to my recent physical therapy session I told you about, I noticed that my head was down. I was looking down, and even when I'm preparing dinner and I'm chopping up some onions or some zucchini or cucumber, I'll be looking down this way or doing the dishes, and I wait a minute. I need to have a better posture here when I'm doing these things. And my wife is looking, what's going on? But you need to be aware of that and aware of because, like you said, like we talked about earlier. We're responsible for our health. And
yes, we are.
So we need to have better posture. And it's easy. I see myself slumping, and when I'm at my physical therapist, he's my client. I make sure that I'm sitting straight up so he doesn't bust me.
Well, now, and posture is a very important thing. Now, we always kind of associate it with physical therapists and associate it with chiropractors. But I mean, the thing is that when you have bad posture where your head is leaning forward and your shoulders are rounded in, like I said earlier, the outside chest muscles have tightened, the abdominal muscles are tightening, and that actually tilts the rib cage downward, which can affect your breathing, which can affect your digestive system. And typically people will walk with a shorter stride. And when they do that, especially as they get older, you'll see that the calves will get tight where their ankles aren't bending beyond 90 degrees. They'll always have head forward posture. They'll always have rounded shoulders coming all the way from the calf to the neck. And it's
Yeah.
like, so when people get into situations, they think, well, if I strengthen the muscles in my back, I can hold myself up. The truth of the matter is that you'll fatigue out because all the muscles on the front side are in a tightened state. So it'd be like me grabbing your hands and pulling you forward as you're trying to pull your shoulders back to stand up. Over a period of time, you're just going to fatigue out. And then you're going to, oh, this is no good, and just let your shoulders slump, and then you're right back. It's understanding the balance in the body is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, that head weighs 10 to 12 pounds. Even standing straight up, if your head is leaning forward, you're putting a lot of pressure between your shoulder blades,
Yeah.
which will affect the disc and the nerves.
Yeah. And my PT gave me a chin tuck kind of motion where I push my
Yeah,
stick. and
Yeah,
tilt back.
he's working on the backside of your neck. That's not
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
The reason your head's leaning forward is the muscles on the front of your neck is actually causing your head to go forward.
Yeah.
And the
he
outside of
he
your
didn't
neck.
work on, he worked on these muscles too.
Yeah. But the ones right on the very outside, you can feel right underneath your armpit here.
Yeah.
That will get tight. And so I do some of the chin tuck too, but the chin tuck is about lengthening the muscles on the backside. We want to
Yeah.
lengthen the muscles on the front side because as this tightens, the head goes this way, you see,
Mhm.
and that puts stress back here. And
Right.
that's really what makes me different from a lot of people, because I'm looking at it from that perspective, is that
Yeah.
what actually caused that back of your neck to tighten?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed our talk. How can, there's more we could go into for listeners to take the next step. What are the best way to work with you, and also what are do you offer online consultations for
I
instance?
I do actually. So I've got a YouTube channel. It's at the Muscle Repair Shop. There's about 180 videos on there. And what I do in each of the videos, in fact, what I do and even in my newsletter, is that I identify a specific ailment, plantar fasciitis, neck and shoulder pain, whatever. Talk about why you're having that pain. Why do most traditional treatments work little at best? And then how can you solve that? And then I actually do demonstrations of the exercises to help you do that. In my newsletter, which comes out every Tuesday, I've got 3 videos that go through that as well. The other way I would look at that too is I've got a book on Amazon called Stretch and Release. That book was written, I spent 4 years writing it. That book was written in a way that it's like a manual. And what I did with it, I started writing the book, and I literally had 2 or 3 of my clients who were very good at editing books and so forth to go through the book with me so that they
Ah.
could see from their perspective if it was understandable enough. And so that was part of my source of writing this book in that tone. And it really helps you understand the importance of mindset. It helps you understand that muscle-body relationship. And then the second half of the book gets into specific parts of the body, the hips, the knees, and so forth. And it has a QR code that you can go onto to tie in the videos to those parts, to those
Oh,
sections.
nice.
And so
Right.
what it is that this thing is, I do online things as well. I talk to people all over the world. Always keep in mind that I'm your guide. I'm here to teach you. Ultimately, you're the person that's got to do it.
Yeah.
And when you get it, you'll be surprised at how your body changes.
Yeah.
And the sad part is, I mean, for all of us who've gone to healthcare schools, no matter who you are and where you go, most of us are taught to treat symptoms and not really look for causes. And once we look for the cause and find that cause, the symptom fixing is easy.
Yeah. Wow. So, hey, Butch, as we wrap up with your final words, what are 3 things that our listeners can do today to put your awesome ideas into action?
Absolutely. That's great. So number 1, move. Move as much as you can every day. That's an important thing to do. But having that movement, you prevent joints from locking up on you, making you feel even stiffer. Number 2, learning how to stretch your body the right way, learning how the mind with your muscles is so important that as you do that, you now can start to unlock your body and get that way. And then finally, the eating part of it, eating a better diet, make sure you get more vegetables into your diet, more protein, especially into your diet. Most people don't talk about protein, although they're starting to do that now. Getting more protein in your diet would be a good place to start for everybody. And as you start to do that, you'll wind up becoming more creative and more productive.
Nice. And so you also, you can get the book. You mentioned the book.
Yes.
You can get Stretch and Release on Amazon.
Correct.
And you also can get your newsletter, which is www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com/muscle news.
Yes.
And you can find all the information and connect with Butch on the show notes page on this episode of the Lead Machine Growth Show. And as we sign off, remember, faith and action go hand in hand, and keep the pedal to the metal. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyon, your host, and Butch Phelps. It's been amazing having you here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Paul. It's been a real joy.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyon, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.